Welcome to Uplift Women's Wellness. I'm Bethany Bush, founder of Head to Toe Strength.
And I'm Auria Zahed, a licensed marriage and family therapist. We're here to empower and inspire women to thrive through holistic wellness.
Each week, we'll dive into topics like fitness, mental health, and personal growth.
And share real conversations and actionable insights to help you live your strongest, healthiest life.
Thanks for tuning in. Let's get started.
The most beautiful, perfect Persian Indian
Oh my God.
that I think has hit the genetic lottery and is by far the most beautiful woman I have ever seen in my entire life. And she makes me awestruck and speechless every single time I see her, no matter if she's covered in sweat or beautifully done up for a wedding. It just blows me away that I have a friend that is this beautiful, inside and out.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I am blushing.
You see, that's not fair. You can't even tell.
I know. I feel the blush.
It's not fair.
Have the blush.
See, if that were me, I'd look like a tomato.
Oh my gosh. So funny. Okay. Well, I do want to talk about briefly my experience of being Persian and Indian in the United States. I was born in North Carolina. Over there, it was a little bit hard for me. I remember, I was really little, but I remember so many people were blonde and blue-eyed. And I felt a little bit strange, or like I could tell I was different, even though my parents, I think, worked really hard to not have that be the case. It was a very small town in North Carolina experience. Yeah, so not long, but definitely, you know, those are the ages where you're learning about yourself and kind of like you versus other people in ways, like experiencing the world for the first time in school. So I did kindergarten and first grade in North Carolina. But then in second grade, my family moved to California and Orange County, California. And so tons of races and ethnicities and lots of first generation, second generation Americans. And I remember feeling like a sense of home. And no one was Persian and Indian, okay? No one. But it was really nice just to have like colors and a lot more people with like dark hair, dark eyes, like tanner skin. And I'm just so grateful that my parents did that for me. But something that like is tricky, I think, for me versus other people is not being a full Persian person and not being a full Indian person.
Because that's a thing, right?
Yes, the two cultures are pretty different. And when I'm in those spaces, I don't feel like I belong fully. And I don't think any of my family would say like, oh, you're a different person than we are, and or like probably they don't even think it, let alone say it. But I don't feel like I belong. And then on top of that, I have the feeling of sometimes I don't feel like I fit in here in this country. So it's a weird situation where it just kind of makes me think about everybody and everyone's experience. And I also really wonder what it would be like to be white and have a country that was like developed from those backgrounds and like, you know, going back Bethany's smiling. Oh, but my experience is just so different that I would be really interested in just sitting down with someone and talking about just having such a different experience in life of like being a person of color versus not being a person of color. And in this country, Bethany, all of our, you know, a lot of our American culture stuff is still very like originally European, like starting with the first Europeans who were coming here. And I think that makes people forget that 40% of people in the United States are not white. 40%.
And I bet that statistic is going to shock a lot of people.
I think so.
Because in certain parts of the United States, it's going to be like, wet. Like places I've lived in. It's going to be like, wait, what?
Right.
Like, that can't be true. But then you come to California, you're like, really? That's already it? 40%?
I know.
It's a 60-40 split?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not like 80-20? 80-20 people of color.
Yes. Yeah.
In California.
Yeah, depending where you are.
Depending where you are in California. I'm only a Southern California native.
Yes.
So I don't know anything above something further north of LA. Like, I've been into Fresno and those areas a couple times, but not as an adult.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's an important discussion for everyone to talk about colors. And there's something I learned in grad school that I feel like sticks with me when I do therapy all the time is people want to say I don't see color because they're trying to say everyone is equal. And I would agree that all humans are born equal, absolutely. But when you're working with people of color, you have to see their color. You have to see where they came from, what they've dealt with, what their parents have dealt with, what their grandparents have dealt with, and also that they have to navigate a society that was built for people who are white or have white backgrounds. For like, I don't know, I don't even know what that's called, but it's just like already American, right? Like, do you know words for that?
Well, it depends. Do you have the ask me questions because I'm the white girl in the room conversation? Or, like, it kind of depends because you also want to know what the white experience
I do
is like.
Yeah. But
so it kind of depends on which side of this coin for the whiteness that I naturally came out with and was birthed with.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think it's more just like there's people, I guess, white people who are able to move through this country feeling like it is their country. And something that's like kind of cool for me is my cousin who is full Persian married someone who's full Indian, and their daughter is now Persian and Indian.
Okay, so this little girl that I'm telling you about, she doesn't look exactly like me, obviously, because I don't look like her parents. But I realized that it's the first time in my 37 years where I met someone who was also Persian and Indian. Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. So there is like a sense of like, finally representation, because I've never experienced that, like so literally.
But that's the experience of like how I feel about her is that how, white people get to feel all the time. I don't know. Right? But do you see how like it would kind of be an interesting back and forth dialogue? Like we talk about media a lot.
Yes.
Even if you look at Hollywood, it is not a 40-60 split.
No.
In Hollywood.
Well, not even female either. Like the 60-40 split, you could go, like, let's say the 60-40 split, but then of the split, how many are women of color?
Right.
Or if you take the opposite side of the split and the 60%, how many are white men? Yeah. In media, in film, in whatever, like how much of this dynamic.
Exactly.
Once you take those percentages and split them.
Yeah.
Because I'm a data nerd. And then you take the chunks out of that.
Right.
How much does it actually become? Because then you're even more less represented because you have to take the females out of the 40%. Exactly. And then you got to take all the white females out.
Right.
And what's the percentage broken down after that? I obviously don't have that percentage. But
right. Yeah. Well, yes. So, but like the media aspect of it is, do you feel like when you're watching people who are white that there's a connection of color? Like, I am not even saying it to like allude to anything. I'm just actually curious because I've never had that, nor do I have that with a lot of women of color because my experience is just like different.
Me personally, as a human being, myself, alone, no.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't like it. I'm probably the worst person to have this conversation with.
Okay.
Because I don't feel like I belong in my own race. Because of my love of different types of food, my music taste.
Yeah.
Very much typically not the traditional what you would expect. Now, it's traditional Southern California music taste because I grew up in Southern California.
Yes.
In a suburb outside of Los Angeles. We moved to the western side of the Mitten State, and I was very confused and uncomfortable because everybody was blonde and blue-eyed. A reverse culture shock.
Yeah.
But also going there,
Yeah.
because I was a white girl from Southern California, what do you think the expectation was when I walked into school?
That you would be blonde and tan?
Everybody knew when the California girl was coming to school.
Why?
Who knows? They're kids. I don't know. It was a billion years ago.
Okay.
But, so then on top of, I feel like I'm in very much the wrong place.
Yeah.
Now I'm also the one that's getting stared at like everybody else, but I'm not the right kind of white. Because at that point in time, California is a sunny state. I was a softball player. I am dark brown hair and hazel eyes, which means I am not fair-skinned.
Yeah.
So when I don't look so white in the summer,
like
or when
you
I
actually tan.
I tan.
Like true tan.
I have melanin. I have pigmentation in my skin.
Okay.
You know, right now because I look like a ghost. But when I was outside for 11 months out of the year, basically every single day, practicing, playing, and traveling. So I also don't fit. And I've never felt like I have fit in that environment and that dynamic.
Okay.
It has always felt wrong to me, and I am a very European mutt.
Interesting. Did they make you feel uncomfortable for looking different than they looked?
Yeah, because they had comments and everything. Oh, you're from California? We didn't expect you to look like that. Anything that you could do to a teenager to humiliate her whole world. I'm also not thin.
Yeah.
I am not a thin person. I've never been a thin person. I'm an athlete.
Right.
And like, for the love of Alana Mayer, I wish she existed 20-something years ago.
Oh.
Because I've never been small. And I honestly think I only survived because I walked in there from California as a softball pitcher. And I think that's the only way I made it. Because other than that, the judgment, the criticism, the ridicule, the fact that I couldn't find like a clique.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't find a friend group to join.
Yeah.
Like I bounced and bounced and bounced. And I have some amazing friends from that time period. But
wow.
I don't identify with any of the kids that I graduated from high school with there.
Yeah.
Because their way of looking at things, their views, don't make sense to me.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. So I feel like how you're describing that high school, that's how I feel about the world.
All the time,
all
every
the time.
day.
In the US, because I just feel like there's a lot more like white cultural representation that is blanketed as, guess what, this is America, versus like, let's mix and then mix societally too. Because I shouldn't feel, as someone who is part of that 40% of color, I shouldn't feel this unbelonging as intensely. Luckily, I am in California, but when I see things like on the news and I see who's doing the news, right? And then even in movies, I'm like, can we like maybe get a brunette sometimes, or no? Okay. Like, I don't need to be represented fully, because I definitely get that I'm a mutt that usually isn't mutted. But I would love for there to be mixes and blends. Mixes and blends. Does that make sense?
Yes, but you're, again, asking the wrong person. Because I think interracial babies, humans, are the most beautiful people on the planet with the most beautiful genetic makeup. Like, I'm not the right person because I'm drawn to those of your background, genetic material, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
Because you are fascinating and beautiful and amazing to me.
Oh.
And I want to know everything there is to know about it. Because I'm not coming at it from, oh, where are you actually from? It's, ooh, so do you also do this and that? And do you celebrate this and do you celebrate that? And like, do you get them all in one? And like, ooh, like you've taken me to see, we've had Persian food.
Yeah.
We've had Indian food. Like I love it. Yeah. And it's an experience, and for me, it's getting to know you and how you ate at home, or how, your dynamic at home was, because it's about you.
Yes.
I want to know about you. I don't care. I mean, I do care.
Yeah.
But it's not like, like I ask and I want to know the inner workings because it's so different from me. I don't care about I have friends that are of my same heritage, but it's all similar. And I don't like similar.
Right.
I like the fish that swims the opposite direction away from the school and gets eaten by the shark, because it's more fun and more interesting that way.
Yes. Yes. But I think that's actually probably why we get along really well, is because you embrace when people are different. I'm like that too. I've always been like an underdog rooter. And then I think the problem with society is people get scared when someone's different. It scares them.
Well, it's unknown.
Yes, but instead of like saying like let's learn, let's get to know, it's something negative towards the person who is different. But that's why it's confusing to me, because with the 60-40 split, it shouldn't be like that anymore, right?
I mean, you would think that, but very obviously it is.
Yeah.
Like, you can't deny what's happening.
Yeah.
But also, do the pods of people that stay within their own color, and they stay there their whole lives, they don't want to experience or change or do anything differently.
Yeah.
But that's also human.
Yeah.
Because from a psychological standpoint, that's a human thing.
Yeah, to stay in your lane, like in your little group. Yeah, and that is what I was actually saying earlier, that I don't feel like I have a group.
Right. So and I don't either. Okay. Even though I'm supposed to.
Okay, that's true. Yes. But you also don't have the fear.
I don't have the fear.
Of like reaching out and talking. What I feel like is strange with this country, okay, again, like we're in Southern California, we're in Orange County, so like I was treated with the utmost respect. The only weird things was like people saying, "What are you?" to me. But I don't even know, honestly, the right way to say that. Like,
and I'm 100% guilty of that, but it's not like, what are you? It's, ooh, what are you?
Right.
Like, but how much, like, and we play and we joke back and forth all the time now, years into this friendship, where I'm like, what is your genetic makeup?
Yeah.
What is your country of origin?
Oh my God.
Because it's like, what do you say? Like, I'll go sciencey, that's fine. What is your DNA sequence? What parts of the world does your DNA sequence come from?
Yes. Well said. Well said.
But it's like,
yeah.
I want to know because I want to know.
I know.
I want to know not because I want to know.
Yeah, not because you're trying to say something negative and like make our differences be known. You actually do want to learn and get to know me for me. Yeah.
Because again, you are the most beautiful person ever.
Okay, thank you.
You never believe me when I say that,
so
but that's fine.
Embarrassing. I know. I don't believe you, but I do believe that that's how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which is something to say of call back to where we struggle with our own body image stuff.
I definitely have body image stuff. I definitely have stuff with like how I look, like because of media, okay, because of what I've been exposed to for so long without representation, I look in the mirror and feel like I look weird. And like, I'm getting over that. I'm getting through that. But it was always like, honestly, like it was to the point, Bethany, where I would look in the mirror and surprise myself by what I looked like.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing, but from a fitness side.
Yes. Yes. That makes sense.
Where the reflection doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But because of the tan, the dark hair, the hazel eyes, the complexion, I've gotten asked, what are you? And like, can I touch your hair? Because it's naturally curly, and I know that I don't remember the percentage, you know, we're the so-and-so percentage of the world. But it's like, ooh, can I touch your hair? Or like, ooh, what are you? Like, you got a, you know, whatever kind of curly head, whatever. Like, and I've gotten that too growing up here, because it's like, so can I speak Spanish to you?
Oh my gosh.
Or not?
Wow.
Granted, love the language, wish I was fluent.
Right.
Don't mind it at all. But I've also gotten that because I am not blonde and blue-eyed. And yeah, you look at me right now, yeah, you'd know it. German, Italian, Irish, boom, obvious.
Yeah.
But when I get enough sunshine and I don't live inside an office every day, all day long.
Right.
I have melanin.
Yeah.
And I have a tan, and I have pigmentation, and my hair is very dark.
It is very dark.
Even though it's mostly never this color right now.
That's why I'm laughing, because usually Bethany has colors in her hair, like red, orange, blue. So
purple.
Seeing its natural tone is extra shocking.
So I guess you could say I fight my genetic makeup.
Yeah.
From the heritage perspective of where my blood ancestors come from, quite hard.
Yes.
But you've been to Ireland and you say everybody looks like me, so.
I know, you look so Irish. I think we need to go. Let's shift, Bethany, because I was saying society hasn't kept up with the percentages. Okay, and I am especially frustrated by Black Americans not being thought about as people who have been here for generations and generations now. But how come we have not found comfortability and true equality with Black Americans yet? What is that?
Do you want me to be honest?
I do want you to be honest, because I feel like we need to, I feel like whoever's listening to this, we can at least help them through it and figure out maybe a way forward. Or I don't know.
Well, I mean, look back through history.
Yeah.
Our history as a country.
Yeah.
We've never wanted anyone of color around us. They were always looked at, well, even women were looked at as property.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and granted, I'm not a military person, I don't know anything about it, but I would imagine you'd have to have that same type of psychology to look at you and say you're not a person, to be able to kill you.
Right. Yeah.
That's the only way that I can equate it to being quote unquote not okay, but like how
it happens.
How it happens and how it's an every day, every hour, every minute kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I can't look at you and not see a person.
Yeah.
But someone else can.
Right.
I personally can't comprehend that.
Yeah.
So I think it comes down to the actual psychology from generation after generation after generation after generation.
Yes.
So if you've got two bloodlines, one's a black family and one's a white family, and they've been here the same amount of time, they've hated each other for most likely hundreds of years.
Right.
And that's taught.
Yeah. But I kind of get it from the black family's perspective of why they have the hate.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere without being killed.
Right.
Very, very short time ago. This was not a long time ago, and still happens.
No. Yes. I mean, things are very... I get, like, you were making sense. Yes. Like, I get the history. I get the disparities that have happened because of the history. I unfortunately get the racism piece, although I disagree immensely. I understand what's happening. However, why aren't we doing better by now? Like, especially with things like mental health, medical health. The statistics are horrible.
How old is the generation above us? And the generation right before them? We're the generation making the changes, and we're trying.
Yeah.
We're the first ones. We're not going to see the fruits of our labor for, sadly, who knows how long. Because you got to think, my parents are much older than your parents. I don't even want to talk about the things that were said in my household.
Oh my gosh.
That make me want to cringe and crawl up in a hole and die and cry.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And the things that were spouted and talked about and said, like, we're literally, and it's not even our whole generation that is fighting for our mental health, fighting back against the way we were raised, fighting against healthcare norms, fighting against reform. And then what do we get for it? Well, you guys are just so sensitive. You're the participation trophy generation. Then you get chastised. Yeah. And mocked and made fun of because you're too sensitive. Even though what we're trying to do is undo generations worth of pain that has been taught. Like, if I chose to have children, I would not even remotely parent close to the way that I was raised, with the regular beatings and the threats and the manipulation, and it doesn't work. Also, I don't know if you took behavioral psychology and behavior modification. That type of using you against you to get their way doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work.
No. And so interesting when you talk about your parents, because my parenting was so different. So different. And there was no, like, teaching. My parents never taught me to see other people as wrong or bad, because they were the immigrants, and that your parents probably, as white people, felt more comfortable with how they treated their kiddos.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still in massive amounts of therapy and working through all of that trauma. So trauma doesn't stop no matter where.
Yeah.
But the access, the treatment, the services offered inside are dramatically different.
Yes. Okay. Well, do you want to give examples?
Do you want to talk healthcare? Do you want to talk mental health? Which one do you want me to talk about? Because you're the mental health one.
Yeah.
I can talk about all, like, the healthcare side of things, because I studied and I took multiple sociology of healthcare, anthropology of healthcare, all of those types of classes where we had to look at all countries in the world, healthcare systems, healthcare models, different cultures. Obviously, anthropology versus sociology, they're different types of studies of human and interaction.
Yes.
And I don't remember the exact definition to this day because I do physiology, so I'm the wrong ology, but
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I just want you to do like a very general disparity discussion. Just like, so what we're saying, because you and I are talking, about our experiences, but there are facts.
Yes.
That we're working off of.
Yes. I'm going off of facts and education.
Yes.
And actual studied, documented information.
Just kind of like share that.
Okay. From a study in 2020, it's by Madeline Sutton et al., and it's a racial and ethnic disparities in reproductive health services and outcome. So the abstract highlights the persistent racial and ethnic disparities in women's reproductive health and emphasizes the need for targeted efforts to achieve health and equality, because the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists acknowledges the impact of systemic racial bias and injustice on reproductive health. And reinforces its commitment to these inequities. So we do have governing bodies who know and recognize this shit's happening.
Wow.
But you can't deny it, because once you get to the statistics, so this study looked at national data from 2010 to 2020, which is obviously thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of pieces of data.
Right.
And it included contraceptive use, Pap tests, mammograms, maternal mortality, and unattended pregnancies across different racial and ethnic groups. Findings confirmed disparities in every single category that they looked at. And what the Affordable Care Act did, and the Preventing Maternal Death Act did to help us improve access and outcomes and reduce that coverage that threatens progress. And then, so strengthening policies, initiatives, tackling biases and racism remain crucial for achieving reproductive health. If you want to break it down by race.
Yeah.
For insurance coverage, American Indian and Alaskan Native populations have 19% coverage.
Oh.
And Hispanic populations are 18% coverage. Non-elderly individuals were more than twice as likely to be uninsured to compared with white individuals at 7% in 2022.
7%
of white individuals are uninsured.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So you've got almost double.
Yeah.
Or double plus.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
So when it comes to mental health services.
Yes.
So the number of Hispanics who are likely to receive and go, like, seek out your help.
Right.
Are 40%.
Okay.
The number of Blacks that are likely to seek out your help is 38%.
Okay.
And Asians, it's only 36%. And adults were significantly less likely to receive mental health care compared to white adults at 56% in 2022.
Oh.
Now, preventative care, like your well woman visits, your PAPs, your, yearly physicals, your blood draw, all that stuff, the dentist.
Oh, important.
the eye doctor,
Oh,
like
yeah.
all of those things.
right?
Around 60% of Hispanic, American Indian, or Alaska Native, and Black adults skipped flu vaccinations in 2022 to 2023, compared to 49% of white adults. Life expectancy of American Indian or Alaskan Native is only 67.9 years old.
What? Oh my gosh.
For Black people, the lifespan is 72.8 years.
Oh my goodness.
And the life expectancy of white people is 77.5 years.
Wow.
And now, granted, this also includes COVID, because it's between all groups saw declines between 2019 and 2022, but experienced slight improvements in 21 and 22. So there's going to be a little bit of outliers. There's going to be a little bit of excessive mortality because of COVID and the amount of lives that were lost during that time frame.
Okay.
So with infant and maternal mortality, you've got, for Black people, it's 10.9 per 1,000 die.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And American Indian and Alaskan Natives were 9.1 per 1,000 infants faced, double.
Oh my gosh.
So sorry, it's not the adults, it's the infants.
It's
the babies. Faced double the mortality rate of white infants, which is only at 4.5 per 1,000 from 2022.
Oh my gosh.
Black, American Indian, and Alaskan Native women also had the highest pregnancy-related mortality rates.
Wow.
Which is also tied to food insecurity. So like you're not knowing where your next meal's coming from, or not having access to affordable grocery stores, or... So these are all aspects of the social, they're called the social determinants of health.
Okay, yeah.
So you can look at a city, how it's structured, how it's broken down, how it's designed, and you can basically figure out what mortality rates are going to be.
Oh my gosh.
Based on these 5 things. So it's based on quality jobs, education, housing, safe environments, and healthcare.
Yeah.
The CDC official definition of the social determinants of health: non-medical factors that affect health outcomes. They include the conditions in which people are born, grow, work, live, and age. They also include the broader forces and systems that shape everyday life conditions. So these systems are economic policies, development agendas, social norms, social policies, racism, climate change, and political structures. So there's a lot of data to support the fact that, no, it's in black and white, where people of color, and especially women of color, are treated less than. And if you wanted to go one step further with obesity rates, and add in that judgment as well, now you've added in another layer of how healthcare is going to let them down, not meet their necessary requirements.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, that was just like information and data overload, and I apologize.
No.
And if you guys are asleep, that's my bad.
I mean, all of it is important. I just wasn't expecting the headache from hearing those numbers. It's really, I mean, I knew, okay, but I didn't know it was those, like, how do I explain this? Like, I knew there was disparity. I just wasn't expecting double.
Between white and color?
Yes.
How
exactly
people of color experience double the death.
Yes.
Double the lack of insurance, double the lack of care.
Yes, because I was already upset just with there being a disparity.
Right?
So having it be that significant is very frustrating. Especially just knowing the 60-40.
Yes.
Yeah, I think anyway it would be horrible. But the 60-40, we're talking about 40% of Americans. It's really just heartbreaking.
It is. It's sad because you come here for the American dream.
Mm-hmm.
You come here for the white picket fence, the family, the 2.5 kids, the job, the degree, whatever it be.
Yeah.
And then you're treated like this by a healthcare system. Yeah. It just makes me want to cry. And it really makes, I feel like it really makes us at Head to Toe Strength different, because that's so important to us.
Exactly, Bethany. And I was just thinking, my project, when I was going through grad school, I was the only person who chose culturally competent counseling as what I wanted to study and research.
What does that mean?
So culturally competent in regards to therapy means you understand values and traditions and cultural norms when you're doing therapy with clients. And that is super important to feel comfortable having those discussions if you don't know. Like in my project, I actually did cultural competent counseling for LGBTQ Asian Americans. So I was not, I purposely chose a culture separate from mine because I wanted to get to know them. So, and I learned how different their values are, not just from like how I was raised, but American culture and American values, it was different. So I cannot do therapy for Asian Americans the way I can do therapy for someone else. And that's basically what cultural competent counseling means, is you need to shift based on who your client is. And that's why it's important to see color.
So it's actually hurtful when you tell someone, I don't see color, because then you're taking, what would you say that's stripping you of?
That is stripping you of...
Oh, you.
Oh, of me. Oh. So if someone says, I don't see color to me, I would just feel like, okay, but you're not going to get to know me. Because so much of my values, a lot of my values come from my parents' values and came from my grandparents' values. And my parents actually have taught me that. And, in grad school, we actually did a project of learn your countries of origin and what they valued, so you can learn what matters to you, and also don't judge people for having different values, because guess what? They learned from their families. And that was just super helpful, because I fear that people who are white get to, run this country in the way that came from their backgrounds, and so it feels comfortable. But we are a mixed country. We all value very different things. But as a culturally competent therapist, I make sure I know everyone's values while we are in session. And I do not put my values on other people.
So how do you approach that from a practice perspective?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ask the person, or do you kind of get a gist of it?
I've luckily, fortunately, taken enough culture classes to kind of know. Like, someone can be like, oh, I'm Mexican, or I'm Italian, or luckily, if someone's Persian or Indian, those are easy. Or even Asian American, I actually took the time to study their culture, right? So I kind of know already a little bit, but I still want to ask about their specific childhood, what values were actually instilled in them by their parents or caregivers. So I'm doing a lot of asking, but I'm also listening, because when people talk, they do talk about what matters to them and what their like values, morals, even religion, values, morals, all that stuff comes out. But if I don't know something, I will ask, or we will actually have a very open dialogue about it.
Wouldn't you say that I do practice the same way?
Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't have a governing body, I have governing bodies, but they're not asking me like what my percentages are or anything like that. But I feel like if I don't ask you who you are,
yeah.
Also, you got to think of it. Those statistics, heart disease hits different races very differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, cholesterol, stroke, like all the cancers, like all of these different things.
Yeah.
COPD, like any type of breathing, issues or blood issues, like you need to know these things so that and also to ask if it's in their family bloodline.
Yes.
Because if it's a genetic heritable trait, I need to know that.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's why we align so beautifully, because I train a whole person. I mean, we've said this many times before. This is kind of like our theme.
Yeah.
But that's the only way to get anywhere with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because those are the only options we have. Because if you only look at this slice of a person,
right,
and you only focus on this slice of a person, you just missed out on who knows what.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and I'm just not a fan of snap judgments anyway. I mean, like I get so upset when people just look at someone and create an entire narrative. So I think honestly, that's why me and you get along so well, is because I've had a lot of people in my life that didn't want to know my culture, didn't care to ask, wanted to pretend I was white like they were. Obviously, people were racist around me, not against me in particular, but it still made me very uncomfortable because I do want everyone to be equal in everyone's eyes. And so I think it's just like you are so special to me because you really do take the time to get to know people and get to know their backgrounds. And you do it from a completely curious place versus a judgmental place. And like you truly care. Like the curiosity comes from your heart. And I think that's what drew me to you in general.
Did you feel that very early on?
I think I did.
Because I have multiple multi-ethnic, multiracial clients. So it's it's a curiosity of mine if, even without knowing me, there's an air of safety.
Yes.
That comes through in the communication when we do our first, like, hi, nice to meet you.
Yes, I would agree. I felt safe quickly, but I feel like the feeling a connection happened when you were trying to get to know me for me. And I honestly, I do get nervous when I'm meeting new people for the first time because I do feel a strangeness. Like, I do feel so different from people. But I think with you, there was safety really quickly. It also helped that you're a woman. But I think there was safety really quickly. But then it just, meant something to me that you took the time to get to know me, because a lot of people won't even ask where I'm from, or I don't know. They just, I don't know what it is. I don't think it's even a bad thing to not address it, but I think it meant something to me that when you were addressing it, it was out of kindness and curiosity versus let's review our differences.
Well, and as we've discussed previously, now that we're a few episodes in, I'm going for connection. I can't connect with you if I ask you about the weather or if I ask you how work went every single day.
Right.
Because you're going to be like, it sucked.
Yeah.
It's sunny.
Yeah. Right. Same answers from everybody.
There just went, okay, now I have an hour to fill of me twiddling my thumbs going, doop, doop, Now what do I ask?
Yeah.
But I'm very, very lucky, like you, and similarly in undergrad, I had one college professor who was very application-based. And he said rapport.
Yeah.
And that is the only way to have any type of success and go anywhere with people. Yeah. And he's like, people want to talk about themselves. Because we want to be known. We want to matter. We want to be seen.
Yeah.
We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to be respected. That comes from our stories.
It does.
And if I don't ask you anything about you.
Right. But I 1,000% get what you're saying. I just think it comes more naturally to you than probably other people who are trying to build rapport.
And I would say that's because that's what I have craved and fought and driven and looked for and gone after. And
yes,
I will be that person in the room that no one looks like me. And I am the happiest little clam I could absolutely be, because the music's better and the food's better and the conversations are better and the vibes better and I think that's just who I am. I do not know how, based on where my parents came from and where I came from. Right. None of that makes sense to me.
Right.
So
it was a pleasant surprise.
It's a nature versus nurture thing, because it's like...
Yes. I mean, I would say your childhood being difficult and definitely having the experiences moving across the country has made you a lot more empathetic. And those experiences, I would say, have also made you like be able to validate other people in what's been hard for them. Like, you have not had a privileged life to like assume that everything is hunky-dory for everybody all the time. No, I feel like,
and we can talk about that later.
Yeah, well, I'm not even trying to get into it. I'm just saying, like, as someone who's saying, like, I was taught to build rapport, I'm trying to say that you can go deeper than that than other people who are trying.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot.
Oh.
Because, the only reason why I do this is to help.
I know.
I mean, if our mission statement could be, I don't want you to have the life that I had.
Yes.
I would, because I don't like how much pain and hurt and evil and toxicity and just racism and just flat out blatant unkindness and hatred for no reason at all because of a pigmentation.
Oh my gosh, seriously.
Like, it's melanin. Should we take it out of everybody?
Right. I know.
And it just, and the fact that it causes such a chasm in a health space.
Right.
It's health. Funny, we all bleed. And last I checked, all women own the same organs and the same systems.
Yes.
So why, because of your skin pigmentation, is that changing how you're treated and your insurance is covered and how much you seek mental health therapy and
absolutely
my services?
Right.
And none of us, myself included, is a native of the United States, because I do not have any indigenous blood in my genetic makeup, which means I'm an immigrant as well. I'm just a 4th or 5th generation American, because I don't know when my German, Italian, and Irish relatives came to this country, instead of being a 1st or 2nd generation American. But I do my best to help, to study other cultures, to understand other cultures, and to immerse myself in what that experience is, so that I can be better at my job, like when I'm working with native Spanish speakers. because I'm not a native Spanish speaker, but I do try my best trying to speak Spanish. And yes, I've studied it for years and I would love to be bilingual and I love the language.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't care if I sound stupid. I'll do my best. And with Google Translate, praise the Lord for the internet and smartphones, I'd have clients who I'd do my best to talk to them with the Spanish that I knew, but I'd be the only trainer there at night. And they're like, well, she speaks Spanish. And I'm like, well, figure it out. I know I have some. It's conversational. It's not great. But I'd whip my phone out and we would still have the same similar conversations talking about the spouses and the kids and the this and the that and the whatever. And
wow.
Like that's how important it is to me, because it's like, yes, that's an extra step, but it's worth it.
Absolutely.
Because I don't want that to be a barrier.
You actually care about your clients.
Well, humans need health.
Well, yes.
We need to take care of each other. Otherwise, that's my soapbox on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing. So now that we've had this conversation, I just want to tell everybody to make sure that you take the time to share your stories and experiences with friends. And I feel like we can all come together, no matter who we are. We can all come together to demand equity, support our communities, and just make this country a better place. And I would also say, like, make sure you're advocating for yourself if you are in the healthcare space. And if you are interested in therapy as a therapist, I do feel like there are ways to filter your searches to make sure that you do get a therapist that is culturally competent in the ways that you need. So be sure to try to search. Don't be scared to start therapy. If you feel like your background is unique, that's totally okay. Just try to find the therapist that you feel like will be a good fit for you. There's tons of therapists out there. They're people too, and they can absolutely work with you. And if you feel like for whatever reason it's not a good match, then you can just move on and find a different therapist who does understand your needs, your cultural background, and your like specific set of goals for therapy.
You are powerful, deserving, and capable of driving the change we all need. Share your story, take action, and lift others along the way.
Thank you for joining us on Uplift Women's Wellness.
We're so grateful to have you as part of our community. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs it.
Follow us on social media for updates and extra inspiration between episodes.
And remember, you're stronger, braver, and more capable than you know. Until next time,
Stay strong, stay empowered, and keep uplifting each other.